Let me introduce you to the hero of my next guest. With his dashing good looks and that trademark gap in his front teeth, can only really be one person, can't it? Terry Thomas. So welcome, Terry Thomas, and welcome my guest, Richard, who has collected all this memorabilia.
Yes.
From his life, and a lot of very personal stuff. It started because you knew him, you met him yourself.
I met him when he was filming in the 50s. My godfather was the character actor Thorley Waters, and Tom very kindly showed me around, for the first time, a film set. And then, of course, sadly, later in 1989 I met him when he was living in reduced circumstances. And I managed to help Terry Thomas, along with a lot of people in the profession. We held a gala at Joy Lane Theatre, and the money raised enabled him to live in comfort for the rest of his life.
Because at that stage he was living in penury.
He was, yes.
Sounds
yes,
incredible,
yes.
doesn't it? You call him Tom a lot.
Tom was the family name for him, yes.
Yeah. And I hadn't realised until this very moment that Terry Thomas always had a hyphen in it.
Yes, he did. He was always insisting on the hyphen in between. It represented the gap in between the teeth.
Right, very clever. So where have you got all this memorabilia?
Well, some of it actually from the Terry Thomas family, and others from artists in the profession, or as usual in sort of junk shops and wherever. And people do stop me and say, I've got an old programme of Terry Thomas's. So people have been very kind. And the nice thing about the collection is it is shown publicly, and the money that is raised goes to Parkinson's Disease Society. So it's a collection that raises money for charity.
Where is it on show then?
It'll be in show in Plymouth this year.
Oh, right. And you're wearing the trademark
yes,
carnation?
Yes, he had a carnation delivered every day, and he had his newspaper ironed. He really lived the life of a gentleman. Which
makes it even more extraordinary that he ended his life with nothing.
Yes.
And this jacket was his, wasn't it?
This is his, made in 1960.
It's lovely, and it fits you perfectly.
It does, although he was much bigger than me.
I thought he was a big man.
Yeah.
You get the impression he was a big man.
6 foot in height.
What was he like?
He was great fun to be with. He was a raconteur, really. He loved good food and good wine and good company, the company of women especially.
So he's very much like the character he always played.
Yes, indeed. And when he lived in America, he used to raise the Union Jack every day at his house.
Did he?
Yes, in Hollywood.
They're quite eccentric, really.
Very eccentric.
In case anybody hasn't heard of him, I can't believe there is anybody out there who hasn't heard of him, but give us a brief resume of the high points of his career.
Well, Terry Thomas really started his career off as a meat porter in Smithfield Market, but it wasn't really for Tom. And he followed into working as an extra, really. And then he was taken up by the Bolting brothers, and it really was Carlton Brown at the FO and I'm All Right Jack, all those wonderful Bolting films, which again starred my godfather. That set Terry Thomas off. And I suppose most children remember It's a Mad, Mad, Mad World, which we have a jacket from here.
Yes, it's here, isn't it?
And
isn't that lovely?
Those magnificent men in their flying machines.
It's lovely to see the picture of him in the jacket, and I associate him with jackets like this. That painting, where's that from?
That was thrown out by the family. It landed on a skip, and a neighbour said, I can't see that being thrown away.
Criminal.
And at the dead of night, he crept out and rescued it, and very kindly gave it to me only a few weeks ago.
I suppose it's familiarity breeds contempt, really, isn't it?
And it's from one of his films too. It was painted from one of his films.
And there's his handwriting.
His own handwriting, his first script for Workers' Playtime in 1947.
More than 50 years ago. And there he is, presumably delivering the scripts to microphone.
Indeed, yes. And of course his trademark was the cigarette holders.
Yes, you've got a whole collection of them here.
They're wonderful. The extending cigarette holder.
Gosh, it goes on for miles.
Yes. And the rather unique one, which shows the gap in between the teeth.
That's absolutely perfect, isn't it?
That's wonderful.
Is there one particular, most treasured item you think you could single out?
I think the oil painting, this painting, I think it's wonderful. I was just so lucky that it was rescued.
From the jaws of the skin.
But I am after a 78 record of Terry Thomas's, which I have to confess I possessed and dropped.
Richard, maybe somebody will help you out. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.